I will say, obviously, if you look at book 1 compared to book 45 or whatever I'm at right now, you will definitely tell the difference in my craft has improved. So as a studier by nature, I have been studying the craft and making sure that I improve on that so that the quality doesn't drop. And as I've picked up writing more quickly, I ensure that I'm not saking the actual craft. So I'm making sure that I study the craft and continue reading. I think that's a highlight, is not getting so lost and trying to push out work that I don't actually read and see what people are interested in.
NL Publishing Service Academy proudly presents Listen Up, I Got a Story to Tell podcast with literary success consultant DK Walker, sharing with you writing tips, marketing ideas, publishing information, and inspiring interviews for your author journey. So, without further ado, let's get right into it with DK Walker.
How's it going, people? This is DK Walker, and you're tuned in to Listen Up, I Got a Story to Tell podcast, the #1 podcast for self-published authors today. I'm not by myself. I have a guest that is really going to benefit you authors if you're struggling. Like if you're struggling to be highly productive, right? If you're struggling and you've been writing one book and you've been going on 2 to 3 years to write this one book, I promise you this author is going to walk you through to be your most productive self. Nichole, please say hello to the room.
Hello, everyone.
First of all, tell me a little bit before we go down the many rabbit holes I have planned for you. How long have you been writing?
I have been writing since 2010. So what is that, 13 years now?
Not a problem. So there was yes, ma'am, 13 years. So there's a reason why I asked that question. My guest today has 45 books published, right? And counting. So she's been writing for 13 years and she's at 45 books. So let's do some quick math here off the top of my head. We're looking at, that's 4 books per year. 4 books per year. I guess my next question is, how did you develop a passion? Because you have to have a passion to be that highly productive when it comes to writing.
Yes. So I will say that my passion was spontaneous. Back in 2010, I was actually finishing a master's program in management information systems. So I'm actually a nerd by trade. I went to school for computer science. So writing was not anything that I ever imagined. I'm an avid reader and have always been an avid reader. And in my, I would say, teen to adult years, I became an avid reader of romance. And I discovered self-publishing when my brother actually said that he had some poems he wanted to publish. And I was like, okay, let's try to figure out what we can do. And I discovered self-publishing. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. We can do it. Let's do this. And I self-published his book for him of poems. And for some reason, I think I recently saw something that was like, when Black women get bored, they pick up something else to do. And that's exactly what I did, because I was working, I was pregnant, I was getting my master's degree, and I decided it's a good time to write a book. So I did.
Wow, that says a lot.
Yeah, it may speak to some of my insanity, but whatever. So I started writing a book during that time, and I finished it and amazed myself and honestly said, okay, that's cool. It's done. I'm about to have a baby and life will go on. I put it out into the world and everyone who read it was like, oh, this is really cool. So where's the second book? And I was like, wait, what do you mean? We're done. That was cool while it lasted, but that's it. So I went a few years actually. So that 13-year span actually has a huge gap in it where I took some time off, didn't write another thing, didn't even think about writing. And then finally was like, I kind of really did like writing. Let's try that again. So then I pumped out 3 books to finish that series. And I was like, okay, cool. Now I think we're done. And then took a little bit more time off after that. And then I kept getting feedback like, no, like, where's some more? And I was like, let's see what we can do. Those characters, maybe there's something else out there for them. So then I just continued writing. And now it's become something that I cannot live without. So I actually became a full-time author last year, January. And I was just like, this is pretty cool. I'm going to stick with it for a while.
Well, it is paying huge dividends. Like I said, you have 45 books in counting. If I did my math correctly, when I was going to be nosy on your author page over Amazon, your books are averaging 4.5 to 4.7 rating. So not only have you mastered, right, being highly productive, like you're churning out great work based on your reviews. Is there what's the secret sauce to like not only like people can write at a high volume and no disrespect because it's a job. I don't want to like offend anybody, but people can also churn out a high volume of garbage by I'm just being honest,
Right.
by the simple fact that you're averaging 4.5, 4.7, 4.8 in reviews lets me know that your books are well received. How are you able to not only write at a high level, but write quality work at a high level?
I will credit the IT side of me, that nerd side that's highly organized and has to have kind of my ducks in a row before I actually start writing.
Okay.
I will say, obviously, if you look at book one compared to book 45 or whatever I'm at right now, you will definitely tell the difference in my craft has improved. So, as a studier by nature, I have been studying the craft and making sure that I improve on that so that the quality doesn't drop. And as I've picked up quantity and writing more quickly, I ensure that I'm not saking the actual craft. So I'm making sure that I study the craft and continue reading. I think that's a highlight, is not getting so lost and trying to push out work that I don't actually read and see what people are interested in. Polling readers to make sure that, hey, what are you guys looking for? What are some of the trends? Not only like reading publications, but actually the readers who have been interested in me in for years. What do you guys want? What are you guys looking for? What is enticing to you? What's exciting to you? What haven't you seen, for instance, that you want to see? So I have to
Okay.
post to my social media. But then when I do sit down to write, it is literally just getting everything plotted. I started off when I first started writing, I was not a plotter. I did not plot. I just sat down at the keyboard, as you can imagine, and just started typing away, and out came a story. But now I'm like, no, like that can't really work, and it's not sustainable, especially if I want to write quickly. So completely plotting out everything, and I have a format of all the characters that I need, like all the details I need for them before I even get started writing. So before day one starts for my writing, I've have their backstory done, descriptions, a full plot on all these details of the story, so that as I go to sit down, it actually is like a project plan. Like, this is everything I need, and now I can start.
Learn how to write faster, conquer writer's block, and tell a story your readers will love. In less than 1 month, writing only 3 pages daily, you can go from book idea to manuscript using the unfair writing advantage. Most authors take 8 months on average to write just 1 book. But in a fraction of that time, you will learn how to craft a book your readers will love and not be hunched over your laptop days on end to do so. Just go to www.theunfairwritingadvantage.com to see what has the self-publishing industry buzzing. Now back to the podcast.
I don't want listeners to I don't want that to go over their head for the people that are, because you have some people that are pastors and you have some people that, are plotters, but you definitely are. So with that being said, you actually, what it sounds like to me, you have your framework in place and then you just unleash your creativity within your framework.
Yes, absolutely.
Got you. How do you not avoid burnout? I noticed that you said there was gaps once you had your kid. I'm not sure how many kids if you don't mind me asking, how many kids do you have?
I have 2 now.
Okay, and I guess I'm being extra nice today, right? Maybe because I had a long day at work. So a lot, and I'm going somewhere. So a lot of authors always, well, I'm a mom, I'm a working mom. I'm like, I get that, but
Mhm.
you yourself, mother of 2, and you're still able to produce at a high level. And so some authors may lean on that as an excuse, right? We do. Life happens. But I think you can be productive in spite of life. And you clearly have shown that. So back to my original question, how do you avoid burnout? So like I said earlier, that you produce great quality work and it hasn't suffered. But how do you still do that without burning out?
Yeah, so I will say that it is a self-care practice first. It is truly allowing my mind to be at ease before I even sit down in front of a keyboard or even start on a story. And also allowing myself to say, I don't have it in me. Like, I will admit, yesterday was one of those days where I sat down and I was at the keyboard and I was like, I can't today. Like, I gave all my all in the morning. I was like, I need a break because literally my eyes are starting to cross. And I was like, I gotta have to take a break. And personally, there's things going on around me. And I was like, okay, take a break. And then tomorrow, you got it. I took a break for about 30 minutes and I was like, okay, you know what? I'm good. Let me go back to the keyboard. And I finished my word count for the day. But it is truly allowing myself the space and the opportunity to say, I can't right now. Let me back away. But then when I do go back to it, saying, okay, I still got a goal. I still got to meet that goal at some point, whether it be that day or that week. I also only write during the week and allow myself the weekend to take a break. I know some people write through the weekend if I've gotten all my words for the week. If not, then I write over the weekend as well. But I have like time blocks. And I learned this when I was in my career of setting time blocks where people can interrupt me. So even at work, I would have meetings. I'm like, okay, this is my block to actually work. Because we know in any
Right.
career, you're always going to have people who want to interrupt you. But I always said, no, this is like my sacred space of time that you can't interrupt. And that
Mm-hmm.
allows me to fully allow my mind to do what it needs to do and then say, okay, I'm done with it. Now let's handle everything else that needs to happen. Obviously, as a person, married, kids, everything else that life throws at us, that may
Right.
always be the case. But like I said, it goes back to that acceptance of what it is and saying, okay, something happened today. We have to adjust and being okay and willing to adjust. So that kind of some of the burnout that I think can be experienced is related to not like almost overpressure, right? Saying, okay, I know some people like, oh, I have this deadline to
Right.
book out and I want the people to be happy and I want the people to be okay. And then you start getting life happens and you're like, oh my gosh. And that alone will send you spinning. And then because your mind for creativity, you need that space to be able to write, then sends you to a whole other side for creativity that kind of, I think, weakens you. So I think it truly is having a good self-care practice. On the side, I am a meditation coach. So I think I'm very in tune to that, making sure that I have that space and energy to declutter my brain, which
Okay.
allows me to fully be into what I need to do for the creative side.
Okay. And I also noticed that in the beginning of you telling me how you do what you do, not once did you say you suffer from imposter syndrome, or did you, or have you ever, has that ever crossed, your mind? Because you helped your brother, right, to start with his poetry, and then you tried it yourself. A lot of authors do suffer from imposter syndrome. Has that ever happened to you?
Sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, this person just came out with a book and wow, they already have all these following and all these people on social media shouting them out and this, that, or the other. And sometimes I'm like, man, what's going on with me? But then I'm like, no, that's their lane and I congratulate them and give them their flowers like you gave me today. Their flowers and say, that's amazing. And what's for me is for me. And here's the faithful readers that I have who then come and tell me, I love your work and etc.
Right.
There's a place for everyone. So I'm a big believer. I also have an author group with a number of Black female authors who all write romance and to encourage each other because I think, like I said, if we continue to feed the engine collectively, there will always be readers available for us. But as soon as that engine stops, they're going to go look elsewhere to other authors and others to find something to read. And the more there are of us, the more they'll stay with us. So making sure we encourage each other to stay there.
1,000%, pardon me, 1,000%. We definitely need proper representation of us. Like nobody, and it's not like I have friends in all walks of life, but nobody tells our story like we tell our story. Not saying other races can't write about us. Nobody tells our story. Nobody gets our nuances like us, right? At all, to say the least. You said something earlier that I thought was uber important. You said that you will go and interact with your readers to find out what they haven't read lately, what are they interested in. How was that process? Like, how do you interact with them via social media? How do you get the feedback from them to let you know what they want from you? Because I think that's important because they are your target market, and sometimes you have to listen to your target market to produce a better product. And you do that by that interaction.
Absolutely. So I do that through social. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, so comments there sometimes. But I also have a Facebook group where I engage with my readers and I see them more as my inner circle of people who have access to me and I have access to them. So I ask them outright. I do surveys on Facebook groups like, what types of things are you guys looking for? What are the top tropes that you're reading right now? What are some things that you're really interested in? Because as the readers go, sometimes there's really some things that you'll see a lot of authors put out at one time and be like, okay, yep, we're really into that. Or no, we're kind of getting tired of that. Like we've seen enough of it. But giving them that opportunity to provide their feedback in my Facebook groups. And then also I do newsletters, monthly newsletters, where I ask for feedback and I'll have readers write and tell me different feedback that they have to me and say, I'm really looking for this, or I haven't seen this at all, and I'd love to see it. And I'll poll people once they give me the feedback. I don't typically take one-offs and be like, yeah, let's run with the story. But I'll poll the people and be like, hey, someone asked for this. Is anyone else interested in this? And as soon as I get enough feedback, I'm like, okay, cool. That's something that you guys are looking for. Absolutely, let's see what we can make happen of this. And then I feel like with engagement and they feel invested in the story,
Right, 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 right.
absolutely. That was me who gave you that idea. Let's go. They're excited about the story coming out even more so. It's been pretty fun engaging with them.
Well, good look with that. Well, what's awesome is about that. What you just said is that you, to a degree, you write to market, right? And so what I mean, so it's two ways to write to market. Like whatever's hot in the market, people will jump on that bandwagon, but that's not necessarily their cup of tea. So they're not authentic in their works. Whereas you actually go engage with your market and create a story by what they want. How hard is that for you to do without losing your voice as an author?
Writing your manuscript has been hard enough, so let NL Publishing Service Academy make self-publishing your book easy as possible. From beautifully designed full and ebook covers to uniquely done typesetting and formatting, our goal is to professionally enhance your manuscripts and book covers to give your readers the best reading experience possible. Need marketing tips, tactics, and strategies? We can help you with that. How about branding and broadening the reach of your author platform? Yep, we can help you with that too. So no matter what your self-publishing needs are, NL Publishing Service Academy has you covered. Just head over to www.nlpublishingservices.com for whatever your self-publishing needs are. And now back to the podcast.
It's not, I wouldn't say it's definitely not stepping out of my lane. It's truly saying, okay, obviously this is what I am capable of and like to do, honestly, in this bubble. What are you guys interested in? It's not giving them kind of free reign to say, oh, go write me a fantasy romance about werewolves. Yeah, we're not doing that. That's what I do. So that's not going to happen. But
Got
it's
you, got you.
different tropes, or even I think one of them I asked was like, what is a profession of a male character that you guys aren't used to seeing, something that you guys would be interested in? Because some readers get very involved in the characters' lives and like they can relate to that, right? So that's why Black readers tend to go to Black authors because they can relate to it. They may say, okay, in my everyday life, I've had people, because I typically write characters who have careers and have gone to college, et cetera. And I've had readers respond and be like, hey, how about some just everyday people, Joe Schmoes, who are just working just a regular job? And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. But it'll be things like that, different careers for the male characters or the female characters or things like that, and tropes, different stories they may be interested in that they've seen. Some people will come to me with different hot topics that are going on current day, and like, it'd be nice to see a story about that. Definitely staying within my bubble, but giving them some free reign to craft their story as you will.
And like you said, by making them part of that journey, they're vested. So you're pretty much guaranteeing the buy by doing that, right? That's uber smart. Speaking of that, like I went through once again, I did my due diligence. I got on my detective hat on. I became Batman for a couple hours. Have you ever thought about, because you're successful, highly great. So have you ever thought about teaching other authors to do what you do? Because I believe it's so needed. Has that ever crossed your mind?
You An amazing segue. I actually started a YouTube channel literally last week because, so side note, my daughter is 10 and she's really into social media and YouTubers and all that. And she just was like, you should start a YouTube page. And I was like, about what? And then,
That's too cute.
what am I going to start about? But then I started thinking to that point, like, hey, there's probably some tips and tricks that I have, maybe not necessarily craft. I don't know if I've perfected that enough. But productivity, I've had a number of people who are like, how the heck are you
Right.
doing this, right? So I was like, you know what? I can pass that information along because I have realized, okay, maybe I have come zoned in on something that I can is repeatable and may or may not help someone else. And like I say, I think everyone works to their own pace. I can't knock anybody for not being where I am, etc., because I'm doing this full time, but there may be something that you see that I'm doing that you can replicate at a smaller
Hmm.
scale to get more words out. So I have started a YouTube channel just to kind of help people along the way, hopefully with their productivity as well.
Any plans, thoughts to monetize that far as not necessarily the YouTube channel itself, like far as workbooks, PDFs, courses, things of that nature?
Yeah, so I am starting the PDFs. I'm still trying to figure out what that will look like, but I will definitely do PDFs. I haven't yet thought about a course. I do a lot, I wouldn't say pro bono free type things, but I do have a group, like I said. So I do work with them monthly, just not free, completely free of charge. It's kind of like a community, but haven't thought about monetizing it yet and what that would look like.
So a bit of advice, once you do, if you choose to do, keep in mind that content will be evergreen, right?
Right.
That means it's going to pay you forever because people are going to be in need for that forever. And while you're in the pro bono phase of that, start to get testimonials. So it's fair exchanges in the robbery, right? Like you're helping them, and in return they'll give you a testimony for the great job I'm sure that you're doing with them. And then once you set up the page, whatever case, your testimonials actually sell your courses, your PDFs, like your work will speak for itself via the testimonials. Once you
I like
yeah.
the idea. Thank you.
Not no, I'm trying my best not to fanboy y'all, so please forgive me. Like it's hard. I won't say it's hard, but I've asked a lot of people to come on my show, and sometimes like pulling teeth, right? When I asked you, it was like, okay, cool, da 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 da, and we were here. And so I am so thankful for that. My next question I definitely have to ask you, where do you see yourself r- in your author career within the next 3 years?
I hope.
I'm so sorry. Let me finish that question up. In the 3 years, given where technology is going, because we're on a cusp of AI. I don't know how big a factor that's going to play. I don't know if some authors are using that for good or bad, but how do you see yourself navigating that water as we're on the cusp of something new? Not saying that authors will get left in by the wayside because nobody can tell a better story than us, but then again, you type in some keywords into some AI, you're like, whoa, that story's kind of good, or that whatever it is interesting. Like, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, so for the first part of that, in 3 years, I hope that I am still writing full time. That's the first goal, is to make sure that I can continue this, what I'm doing, maybe teaching and passing along my knowledge that I have, potentially being traditionally published for a separate genre. So just to give you some tidbit and some insight into what I'm doing. So I have J. Nichole, which is my pen name for Black romance. I've also started another pen name for Christian romance. And then I'm writing, which will take probably longer than any of the other books that I work on and can churn out a little bit quicker, a YA book. So I would hope that YA book will be more marketable for a traditional route. So hoping that can happen and see what I can do there. And then as far as AI is concerned, I do believe that will be a number of people who will utilize that as a tool to create stories. Now, from what I've seen, yes, it can create a story. And there's a couple of tools that I've been looking at that actually can enhance your writing. But even the person who created it or someone who works there, it's called pseudo write.
Mm-hmm.
It's not Chat GPT, but it runs off of AI and essentially can write a story for you. But when we did a workshop on it, and it's just like, okay, the story's there. Like you said, it could be interesting. But I definitely think there's going to be a difference between what AI can produce and what a traditional author could produce. And by traditional, meaning someone who's using their creativity to write the story from scratch.
Right.
I definitely think it can enhance a story, but I think there's more to being an author than just saying, okay, here's a prompt, pump me out something. Because I think there's some details that would need to be finessed within that story to make it something that someone would read and be like, oh, okay, this is a decent book. It could be like a story that you might put out. I think for blogs and for things like that, it may be more useful, but for a complete story, I think it may be some time before it's there. Don't get me wrong. I think someone could probably pump it out and it may be good by, but I think it'll be distinguishable between AI and an actual author and what they can do. But I do think that we have to get ready for that market of people who are going to put stuff out
That's my
completely generated by AI. And just me from writing from 13 years ago to now, there's already a ton of people that are self-published, and that's not bad. Like I said, we need to feed the engine, and someone will find a market for themselves, and readers will find an author that they love. But it's just making the pool a little bit bigger of people that are there, and it may be harder for us to find our market or readers to find us through the swarm of things that are just going to be out there. It'll be a while, but I think quickly people will pick up on, okay, this is not maybe what I'm looking for, and move on. And if it is, more power to the people who are able to do that and get AI to produce a story worth reading that they'll put out there. But I just caution anyone who would use AI strictly because there are some nuances there that I think will be missed from obviously from AI.
Yeah, definitely the human element, right? Like there's once again, like there's a human element that no matter how much technology can predict mannerisms of mankind, there's certain nuances that we get that they'll, what I believe, and I could be wrong, that I believe the AI won't be able to pick upon and whatnot. A dedicated reader will understand and know the difference, right? Because good stories have soul. It's a living thing. A good story becomes a living thing, and if you're author, what we're talking about, I don't think AI will be able to capture that essence. That's just my personal opinion, but I do believe that some authors, and I'm going to be 1,000% honest, I'm not a fan. I think you're cheating the readers, right? Because when I buy your book and your name is on it, I want to be like, I want to believe that person took the time out and wrote that book.
Yeah.
And if they didn't, I'm like, you're not only you're cheating the game, you're cheating me.
Right.
Yeah, you're cheating the consumer. That's just me. I'm gonna stand on my doggone soapbox and I'm gonna beat my chest and say that. Not a problem. I had you fill out a bio, not a bio, but a questionnaire for this. And one of the questions was, what do you hate about self-publishing? You put down marketing. That made me scratch my head because to me, it seemed like you found your tribe, your people, right? Like you were greatly supported. So what is it about marketing that you hate, that you believe that you hate?
Yeah, so I think, and this is just my personal opinion, is
Yes, ma'am.
I found my tribe, that I have found those people, but I think that tribe can grow. Now, expanding it beyond that is the hard part, right? Because my readers are, I'm going to grab it as soon as you drop it. We love it. We're going to get it. Now, let's expand that a little bit and say, okay, now how can I tap into a market of people who have never heard of me before? And expanding to that is the part I'm like, okay, this is the hard part of trying to get pushed past the people who know me by name already. So that's the part. And then as much as I'm on TikTok and all of the socials, I'm an introvert. So that is not my thing. So I
Okay.
decided like I'll stay there so people can see me, but that I will switch to just, I have been doing ads for, I think, almost my whole career, but making sure that those are more efficient and profitable. So really getting into that. And that piece of marketing isn't easy, I would say. It is challenging for me
Mhm.
to replicate those readers that love me in those audiences that are necessary for ads or AMS ads. I use Facebook ads primarily. I have tried AMS ads, which is Amazon ads, not as successfully as Facebook ads. Facebook ads do a lot better. So I do feel like I am getting there where I am fine tuning it where it's working a little bit better for me. But I still think I have some way to go before I can truly expand my reach and the audience of people who love me. If I can just replicate all the people who love me now a couple hundred times, then I would be feeling great. But it is hard to push past that and expand that circle of people who already know me and trust me.
Okay, so have you thought about collaboration with somebody that's in your genre, but that may be a bigger author than you? And that would expose you to their tribe.
Like collaborate for an actual book.
Yes, ma'am.
I haven't. So I do. There are two authors that I read who have done that recent, or they have a series where they do that, a collaboration, and they've been doing that for a while. And I have recently been like, maybe I could do that with someone. I have not approached anyone about it yet, but maybe something like that would be an interesting way to segue into a bigger audience.
That's how most bloggers actually grow their blogs, right? So like you get started in the blogging game and you're not where you want to be. So you write a great piece on somebody else's blog. And of course the CTA will lead them back to your blog. And if they like what is written, then they become your fans as well. It's you'll be hard pressed to find a reader that has one author they love exclusively. It's I like her and her. And the reason that they like those multiple readers is, excuse me, authors, is because they have similarities. And
Right.
so I believe it's an author's job to bridge that gap. Okay, I've been, for lack of better words, plateaued with my audience. I
Mm.
need to bump up, so I need to borrow your audience. And then after I borrow I'm going to borrow your audience. I don't. The reason I say that, I believe that there's a book life or shelf life for books, like for
Mhm.
self-published authors. The reason being is if you write in a particular genre and that genre has roughly about say 10 million people that read, you only got a couple of thousand, maybe 10,000 20,000. You still leaving quite a few thousand people they don't even know you.
Right.
And so like it just and then I guess you have to get creative in your marketing efforts, and that's just one way to do so.
Yes. Yes. It's definitely a good idea. And I think I will definitely have to figure out who and how to approach them to make sure that is beneficial for both sides, because
Right, right, right.
it has to be some bang in the buck for them on their side. But yeah,
Well,
definitely.
if you think about this, one author by the name to come to me in a hot second. Don't fail me now. It'll come to me. He was big with the Alex Cross series. James Patterson.
Yes.
James Patterson is known to take an author, put him under his wing. It's a win-win, and it bleeds new life into him because he.
Right.
So it's not so much because that's that new blood, that new voice, but it's still
Right.
under the same. Our styles are the same, and we become compatible. You said something earlier that I definitely want to touch upon. You said that you were an introvert. How are you an introvert? And there's different levels. I don't understand it. I'm outgoing, and if you let my wife and family tell it, I'm outgoing, loud, and obnoxious. Don't tell nobody. But how does an introvert become as successful as you are?
So I will say that I am a extroverted introvert. So the way I like to tell people is, if you saw me at a party, I wouldn't be the person that's a wallflower per se.
Okay.
I will interact, I will network, I will talk to people. But as soon as that party is over, you may not see me for a month because I need to go regain all my energy, and I'm going to go
Right.
chill somewhere, and you're not going to see me. I'm not going to talk to nobody. I'm just going to be off to myself. So I will say that I am still able to, I'm not extreme introvert, but I am an introvert and prefer. And I think that's why I've taken to writing so much, because I'm in my zone by myself. No one's bothering me while
Mm-hmm.
it. Where when in my career I had a million people who needed me at all times. I'm like, I just don't, I don't want to talk to you. Can I just do my work over here in the corner?
Email me, please.
Yeah, could that be an email? Do we have to meet? Just email me. Send me a Slack message or something. But yeah, so it is challenging because there are things like that, right? There's networking events, for instance, and I'm like, or there's, for instance, in-person trade shows or whatever, book events. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. It'd probably be a way for me to go expand my market. But ooh, that energy level that it's going to take for me is challenging. So I do have to say, okay, let me weigh the pros and the cons of this. At the end of that event, how am I going to feel? And if at the end of that event, I come to the conclusion that probably not amazing, then I'm like, I'm going to pass on that one. But it just depends. I'll do interviews, I'll do other things, I'll get in front of lives and all those things and not feel drained at the end. I'm like, okay,
Okay.
that's beneficial for me. Again, earlier to your point of how do you not get burned out. And it's doing the things that I feel feed me and it's not completely draining me to the point where I'm like burnt out and cannot function for a period of time if I were to do that. So those are things that I do have to push beyond. Like my husband always says, you have to get out there. So you have to push beyond that. So it's like, yep, I know. And we're working on it. So it
Work in
really,
progress.
yeah, definitely just something that as an introvert is challenging. So trying to push beyond that sphere of, okay, here's my bubble, but I need to step outside of it. I need to talk to even more authors and get in some of those circles to make sure that they know me as much as I know them.
Okay, cool. Are you a one woman team, or do you have a team of people helping you do the things that you do?
I am a typical indie author, one woman team. Here I am.
Okay.
I do have an editor, but as far as social media and everything else, it's all me.
I'm gonna need you to walk me through that because there's I don't know if you've seen it. There was a TikTok going around on TikTok about the many hats that self-publishing authors have to wear.
Mhm.
Walk me through, how do you manage that, from writing, the marketing aspect on social media, running your newsletter, being a wife, being a mother? Like, how do you navigate that without still holding on to you and definitely holding on or sustaining your creativity? Because if you're being everything to everybody, for me, when I'm doing that, then my creativity wanes because I'm tired, right? And so when I sit down, it's time for me to produce. I'm playing chess. I'm just gonna be honest, right? I'm playing chess and I get mad because I think I'm decent, and I start to lose the people I know I shouldn't be losing to, right? So I'm like, okay, let's go watch some TV or something. But so how do you maintain that, all those many hats, producing as highly as that you do?
Yeah, so like I said, with the time blocks for writing, that's
Okay.
the time. So I start my day off with that, and randomly, I'm a morning person. And when I say morning person, I mean like really before the sun comes up type of morning person. And I find that time is the most productive for me. So because I know I have those many other things to do throughout the day, I said, okay, and this is recent as of this year. Before, I still wake up around 6. I get out of the bed around 6 to start writing. But now I get up at 4 and am sitting in front of my laptop by 5:15. So I can get majority of my words done between that time and the time my kids get up around 7. Sometimes if I'm not as creative, then I'll push an extra hour after I get them off to school. But then that allows the rest of my day to be free and I feel accomplished because I got those words done. Those feel like that's the hardest part of everything else there has to do is getting the words done. So if I start my day early and get those out of the way, then everything else that I have to do isn't so tasking. So for instance, I work from a planner. So I have all of the things on different days that I'll do. So for instance, on Mondays, I batch make all of my social media posts. So on
Mm-hmm.
after the day I've done all my writing, then I do all my social media posts. I also log out my actual business expenses and those types of things on Monday. So Monday's done, we got all that done. And throughout the week, I go on with other different things like on TikTok. So I make those on a certain day. My newsletter, I do deal with that on a certain day on the weeks that I need to put those out. So I literally just have my day set up of, okay, these are the things I have to do. And within this time frame, because at a certain point, the kids will be home, husband will
Mm-hmm.
be home, and I have to play mommy then. So then I'm switching roles, switching to wifey. So all those things I have to do. So I have that time dedicated to, okay, these are all the things I have to get done, but have it broken out into days so it doesn't feel overwhelming. Like I have to do all the things all the days. Even with as my engagement grows on social, I've told myself, okay, I cannot respond to everybody every day because absolutely that will be consuming, not only because I'll be responding, but because then I'll get caught up in actually reading other social posts and things like that. So I've limited myself for that as well. I'm like, okay, on these days of the week, that's when you'll go respond to comments or whatever. So I'll just batch go and look at all the comments I need to respond to and do that. So it really is just figuring out what times work best for me. And I know I've talked to many different people who are like, oh, I'm not a morning person. I can't do that. But even when I was working, that was my thing. Like morning was my time. So before I even started work, I would actually get up early in the morning and get words in before I started my work day. Earlier in the years when I used to be topsy turvy and nighttime was my jam, I would get in my words at night before I went to bed after my daughter was sleeping. So it just depends on when you feel like you can do something,
Mm-hmm.
sure that is your time and dedicating to it. And then saying, okay, what other time blocks can I get things done in? And then making sure that those are the times. I laugh because some people I talk to who try to get into, being more productive. Oh yeah, I can't limit my creativity to this time. So I can't do this all my TikToks on one day. I just need to be able to do them sporadically. And I'm like, you just have to find what works for you and stick to that consistently. If your thing is not, I can't limit myself to this time block, you still have to be consistent of when you say you're going to do it. Like you can't just say, oh yeah, my time this week was 1 hour, but then I'm not going to look at it again for 2 weeks. That's not very consistent. You'll never get anywhere like that. So you have to make sure whatever you do it consistently.
Right. For authors, that's great advice, by the way. But I think a lot of authors actually, I want to be nice. I think a lot of authors actually look for that excuse because they're not getting the results that they want. Why is that? Do you think because they've yet to properly identify their target market first? Because like you don't create any product, and we're not even talking about books, like any business, because authors are business people, right? You don't create any product without knowing, what your consumer wants. And so if
Right.
you start to create a product and you have no idea who you're going to sell the product to, then frustration automatically sets in because you didn't do your due diligence to find out who's going to buy my book. Am I in the ballpark with that analogy? Am I off? Let me know because I'm
No,
learning as well.
absolutely. I think identifying your market helps because absolutely when you're writing the book, you know what you need to include. So, for instance, when I sought out, I was a romance reader, so I knew in general what I was looking for in a book. So I knew, okay, these are the things I need to write in it. Sometimes people have this idea that, okay, I'm just going to write a story and I have this story to tell. And that's great. A lot of people say that that first book, just tell your story. The second and beyond, you need to actually sell it. So you need to actually be writing to the market. Like, get that first story out. Do whatever you want with it. But
Okay.
that if you actually want a career, you need to actually be writing to someone who's going to buy it and writing stories. Because there's this piece of creativity, right? Even in my author group before they join, I ask them, are you writing for the art and the craft? Are you writing to make money?
Yeah.
There's a
That's
difference.
good.
If you're just writing because you want to write and that's your creative outlet, cool. Except that there may not be many people who want to read that story. But if you want to make money, you have to be willing to say, okay, I have a story to tell in a unique voice, but it has to fit within what people are looking for. And after starting to learn writing to market, I've even started noticing that in shows, in movies, it's okay, that's the same exact movie as that other one, just different characters.
Formula.
Is
It's a formula.
it's very for it's you're taking the same thing, rinse, wash, repeat. And people are looking for that. So when you go to market that, people are saying, oh, that's like that book. I'll read this. I'll invest in it. So I do agree that if people are frustrated because the end result is not what they're expecting, then absolutely you got to back up a little bit and try to figure out what exactly is my end goal. One, because some people just say, like I did, middle of the night, I want to write a book. Okay, cool. The book.
That is so unique in itself. I don't. People wake up in the middle of the night, have a taste for doggone ice cream or chocolate chip cookies. I'm talking about my wife, but rarely do people wake up in the middle of the night. I want to write a book. Like what? You're not hungry?
Right?
But I digress. You touched on so much what you just said. Maybe I need to find a kinder way to say that. Right? Maybe people would listen to me more if I find a kinder way to say what you just said. So I believe in I'm a hack. Everything what's the hack to it? Like I want to work smarter, not harder. So I believe everything is story. But like you said, you have to put that story has to fall in the parameters. And I tell the people that I work with, look, are you writing this for you? And if you are writing this for you, then you should go write. It should be a diary because you don't have it's just a diary, and you're writing. You're being, lack of better words, you're being selfish. But if you want somebody to read your work, go look at what's going on in the market right now. Just go take. I'm not saying that you have to steal somebody's work. I'm not saying that your cover has to be exactly like somebody. I'm not saying any of that stuff, but it has to be similar. And if you get a reader thinking like, "Oh, this is that," I'm going to try this, even if they don't know nothing about you, they're going to try based on the successful author that was before you, right? I tell people that struggle with marketing and whatnot, walk down the cereal aisle. Just walk down the cereal aisle. You'll have your Kellogg's and you have your name brand stuff, right? That's priced as such. Then you have other stuff that's priced as such. The people that can't afford their Kellogg's, they're going to buy. So when the kids get to crying, like they feel like I got something that's close to. It's the same thing with the reader. And the magic is not in the cover. The magic is in the content, which is your story.
Right.
So if you want to be unique, if you want to be different, be unique, be different in your story. Like there's nothing new under the sun. There's no new stories. I'm sorry. Like I'm as much as it's not, but it's your presentation, how your overall description of that story that sets you apart from other authors. You can put 10 authors in a room and give them pen and pad and tell them to describe what's in the room. You're gonna have 10 variations of the same thing, but it's the same thing.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. I don't want to hold you too much. I'm going to have you back. I know you're an introvert. I know you have a lot going on. Like when you stop answering my DMs, like, okay, she tired of me. She tired of being a guest on my show. That's what's going to happen. Just let you know now. Before I let you go, what advice would you give to struggling authors that really want to make a living at this, but they can't get over the hump?
That's a good question, actually. I would say one, identify what you're trying to do, like what your goal is. You have to like really understand that in the depths of your soul. What is your goal? And let that be a resounding sphere for you to say, this is what I want to do. Once you have that accomplished, find someone who can help you do it. Find someone, a buddy, an accountability partner, someone
Mhm.
who's going to say, okay, did you get the words in? Because at the end of the day, there's no story that's going to be read if it's not written. So you have to have those words down. After that, you can worry about the rest, but get the words in and make sure they're on paper. And I think the easiest way to do that is absolutely finding either a accountability partner, a writing group, communities. Now, the blessing of social is that there are tons of communities out there where people can find either on Facebook, public libraries even have different writing groups. just find community. And that's very helpful and encouraging to say, okay, I don't want to show up with nothing. So let me at least get something on the paper
Right.
to make sure that you're getting that part done and don't get overwhelmed by the entire process. Take it bit by bit. And then once you get to the end, you'll be at the end. Take it bit by bit.
Cool. Before I let you go, where can people find you at on social media?
So I am by BY_J Nichole, Nichole, on everything: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
Got you. All her information will be in the show notes. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Like I told, I'm just gonna be transparent. This was more so for me and not my listeners. I'm just being honest. This is really, and hopefully they can benefit from all the wisdom that you gave us today. But I promise you, this is more so for me than them. So we can look at it this way. I was a representation for them. To say the least. This has been Listen Up, I Got a Story to Tell podcast. I appreciate y'all listening. I appreciate y'all tuning in. If you're watching this on YouTube, do me a favor, subscribe, leave a comment, share it to another author. Don't be stingy with the information. I will see you great people next week. J. Nichole, once again, sweetheart, thank you from the bottom of my heart for sharing your wonderful gift with us. Keep doing what you're doing. You'll be back. I'm not even asking. I know I'm wrong for telling you. I'm not right, but you'll be back.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
This episode of Listen Up, I Got a Story to Tell podcast has ended. But please be sure to subscribe for more literary strategies and tactics to help you create the profitable, successful author career you've always wanted. And don't forget to rate and leave a review so we can continue to bring you the best author and book-related content. See you on the next episode.